that's where that's the trigger. If you start talking about LeBron as a father, that's different. That's not. I can be critical of Bronny in his game,
yeah,
but
but
I can't be.
listen, man. LeBron's a. Oh, I shouldn't say. I don't know what kind of father LeBron. LeBron seems like. First of all, I've always said this: the difference between Michael Jordan, Kobe, the three best basketball players I've ever seen are Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James. Those are the three best basketball players I've ever seen.
There are exactly 15 roster spots on every single NBA team. 15. That is it. Not 16, not 17. Just 15 seats for the most talented basketball players in the entire world. And when you really stop and think about how many people are trying to get into those 15 spots, it becomes clear just how precious each one really is. There are players grinding in the G League every single night, dropping 30 points and going home to an empty apartment wondering if anyone noticed. There are players in Europe and Asia playing overseas, keeping their game sharp, just hoping and praying that one phone call comes. There are players who spent their whole lives working toward one dream, and they are one roster move away from getting that chance. Every single one of those 15 spots sits on top of years and years of sacrifice, early mornings, late nights, and choices that most people will never fully understand. So when a spot on an NBA roster is being questioned, when people start asking out loud whether that spot is truly being earned, that conversation gets serious very quickly. Right now, that conversation is happening in Los Angeles, and the player at the center of it all is Bronny James. Let us be straight from the very beginning. Bronny James is not a villain in this story. He is a young man who grew up in one of the most watched families in all of sports. He carried pressure from a very young age that most players will never experience in their entire careers. He went through serious health concerns that put everything in perspective, and he came back to basketball with something to prove. That part of the story deserves respect. That part of the story is real. But the NBA does not run on respect for effort alone. The NBA runs on one thing above everything else: production. And right now, the numbers surrounding Bronny James are starting a debate that is getting louder every single week. Let us start with the numbers themselves, because the numbers tell you everything you need to know. Through 15 games, Bronny James is averaging under 2 points per night. 2 points. In a league where even backup guards are expected to come off the bench and give you something meaningful, that number stands out. The assist numbers are low, the defensive impact has not shown up on the stat sheet in a way that jumps out at you. Most of the minutes he has played have come during the final stretch of games, where the outcome was already decided. The other team had their deep bench on the floor. The pressure was completely off. And even in those low-stakes moments, Bronny has mostly blended into the background without separating himself in any clear way. Now look at the preseason numbers too, because they set the tone for everything that followed. Bronny was 7 for 28 from the field in 4 preseason games. He shot 2 for 13 from three-point range. He had 8 assists and 8 turnovers. For a player moving into his second year in the league, those numbers should be a starting point for concern, not comfort. And the thing about the NBA is that coaches see everything. They watch film, they track every possession, they know exactly what every player on their roster can and cannot do. And right now, what the Lakers coaching staff is showing through their rotation decisions tells you more about where Bronny stands than any press conference statement ever could. Think about what happened when the Lakers were short-handed. Luka Doncic was out. Gabe Vincent was not available. Austin Reeves was banged up. The backcourt got thin. These are exactly the kinds of situations where a young player on the roster should get a real opportunity to step in and show something. These are the moments that change careers. A coach looks down the bench, sees a young player ready, takes a chance, and that player delivers. That is how careers are built in this league. That is how trust is earned. But when those moments came for the Lakers, Bronny's name did not come up. Not once. Instead, head coach J.J. Redick made a move that spoke volumes without saying a single word. He started Nick Smith Jr. Now here's why that decision is such a big deal. Nick Smith Jr. is a guard who had already His numbers were not spectacular. His defensive reputation was not exactly making waves around the league. But when the moment came, when the coaching staff had to decide who they trusted in a real NBA situation, they chose Nick Smith Jr. over Bronny James. That is not a small thing. That's a coaching staff sending a message without using any words. And in the NBA, those messages travel fast. When the Lakers were struggling against the Phoenix Suns and the game started getting away from them, Bronny finally got onto the floor. But look at when that happened. 9 minutes left in the game. The result was basically already decided. The Suns had pushed their lead, and the game was essentially locked in. Those are not real NBA minutes. Those are not the kind of minutes that help a player grow or prove themselves. Those are the kind of minutes where coaches keep someone's legs warm and make sure they are not sitting too long on the bench. And that pattern, playing only when the game is already gone, has been showing up again and again throughout this season. If the game is close, Bronny is watching from the bench. If the moment actually matters, he is sitting. If something serious is on the line, he is not part of the plan. That is not what a normal development situation looks like for a player the organization is supposedly building toward a real role. Normal development means short bursts off the bench, a few minutes here and there, and then slowly building toward bigger opportunities as trust is established. But Bronny has not even fully gotten through that first stage yet. He has not logged more than 10 meaningful NBA minutes since early November. Even as injuries piled up in the backcourt, even when the team was desperate for fresh legs and perimeter help, J.J. Redick never turned toward that end of the bench. And let us be honest about what that silence means. Coaches in the NBA play the guys they trust, full stop. They can live with missed shots. They will ride out bad stretches if they believe in a player. They will stick with someone through rough nights if they see effort and potential and fight. But they will not risk important wins on someone they are not sure about yet. Right now, every rotation decision the Lakers make is quietly telling the whole league exactly where Bronny James stands, and the answer is not a comfortable one. Now let us zoom out and look at something that makes this conversation even more uncomfortable for some people. There are players right now in the G League who are absolutely destroying it night after night, players nobody has even heard of. Bryce McGowens, Elijah Harkless, Trey Alexander, DJ Davidson, names that do not ring a bell for most casual NBA fans. But these guys are scoring 30 points a night in the G League. They are dominating a league full of hungry, desperate players who want nothing more than an NBA opportunity. And none of them have guaranteed contracts. None of them have the luxury of sitting on a roster without putting in big performances every single game. They have to earn every single minute, every single night, or they are gone. Bronny James, on the other hand, has a guaranteed contract and a roster spot on one of the most famous franchises in all of basketball. And here's the part that makes people raise their eyebrows. When you go through the top 50 scorers per game in the G League, Bronny is not on that list. Not in the top 50, not even close. He had a 14-point game at one point, but other games were single digits, and when you do the math across the whole sample, the numbers just aren't there. The players who are in that top 50 are grinding, fighting, and producing at a high level consistently, and yet they are in the G League while Bronny is on the Lakers roster. That disconnect is what fans and analysts keep coming back to, and it is a completely fair thing to bring up. Stephen A. Smith has been one of the loudest voices on this topic, and he understands the grind of basketball better than most media figures. He has watched players fight their entire lives for one real chance at the NBA. He has covered guys who spent years.
There is a difference. He was not considered a great college player at USC either. He was a college player, and when the NBA draft came around, he went in the second round as the 55th overall pick in what many people described as a weak draft class. That history matters because the NBA is not a place where average college players suddenly turn into rotation contributors overnight. The gap between the college game and the NBA level is enormous. It takes time, it takes work, and most importantly, it takes opportunities to develop. And right now, Bronny is not getting those opportunities in any meaningful way. The conversation gets even more real when you think about what the Lakers actually need. This is not a rebuilding team. The Lakers are not in a position where they can afford to be patient with unproven players for 2 or 3 years and see what develops. They have LeBron James on the roster, and everyone knows that every remaining season with LeBron is precious. They need to compete right now. They need real depth in the backcourt. They need perimeter defenders who can guard multiple positions. They need floor spacers who space the court and give the offense room to breathe. They need energy guys who come off the bench and immediately change the pace of the game. These are specific needs that playoff-level teams require. And right now, one of their 15 roster spots is held by a player who has not yet been trusted to fill any of those roles. That creates a tension inside the organization that goes beyond just one game or one bad shooting stretch. Front offices think about roster construction in terms of leverage and liability. Every contract either helps you or limits you. As the trade deadline approaches, every single roster spot gets looked at under a microscope. Teams around the league are constantly scanning for available players. A guard gets bought out somewhere, a defensive specialist becomes available, a G League player catches fire and earns a call-up. These things happen all the time, and when they do, teams have to make decisions. And right now, the question the Lakers front office is quietly dealing with is whether the spot Bronny holds could be used in a way that actually helps them compete right now. Nobody is saying Bronny James is a bad person. Nobody is attacking his character. By all accounts, he works hard, he shows up, and he carries himself with professionalism in a situation that most people his age would crack under. LeBron James is a well-respected figure in the NBA world, and from everything people say, Bronny is following in his father's footsteps in terms of character. But character alone does not win basketball games. The NBA is not a place where you get to stay just because people like you. You stay because you produce. You stay because coaches trust you. You stay because you make the team better in real moments that actually matter. And here's the part that really gets people talking. That is how confidence is built. That is how young players become rotation pieces. And right now, that process has not truly started for Bronny. He is stuck in a place that every young NBA player fears. Officially on the roster, officially in the league, but not truly part of the competitive plan. That is a very hard place to grow from, because here is what happens when a young player gets stuck in that position for too long. The rhythm never comes. The confidence never builds. The opportunities that were supposed to create experience start feeling more like a reminder of what is not happening. And the league keeps moving. Other players keep improving. Other guards keep making noise. The competition for those limited roster spots never slows down for a single day. And while Bronny is sitting at the end of the bench waiting for his moment, someone else somewhere is taking that moment and turning it into something real. The spotlight that follows Bronny James is unlike anything most NBA players ever have to deal with. Every game he plays is analyzed. Every shot he takes is discussed. Every minute he sits on the bench becomes a talking point. That level of attention can either push a player to rise, or it can become a weight that is hard to carry. And for a 20-year-old who is still trying to find his footing in the most competitive basketball league in the world, that weight is enormous. The cameras find him constantly, the commentary never stops, and every single night, the debate around whether he truly belongs reignites all over again. The viral clips, the discussion segments, the social media conversations, they are all pointing at the same thing. People want to know if Bronny James is an NBA player in the real sense of that phrase. Not in the sense of being on a roster, not in the sense of having his name in the box score, but in the real sense. Can he help a team win? Can he be trusted in a close game? Can he be the player a coach reaches for when the moment is real and the stakes are high? Right now, the honest answer to that question is that nobody truly knows, because those real moments have not come yet. And they have not come because the coaching staff has not yet trusted him in them. That brings everything back to one central point. The NBA reveals the truth over time. Hype fades. Storylines fade. Marketing and headlines and father-son narratives eventually fade. What stays is the production on the court. What stays is what a player does when the lights are brightest and the game is on the line. For Bronny James, there is still time. He is young. The road ahead is still open, but the window to flip this narrative is not unlimited. Every week that passes without a breakout stretch adds another layer to the doubt building around his roster spot. Every game where he watches from the bench while other players earn their minutes makes the question louder. Eventually, the moment will come. A situation will arrive where Bronny James gets real minutes in a real game with real stakes attached to it. And when that moment comes, everything can change in an instant. One strong night of basketball can shift the entire conversation. 5 good defensive possessions in a row can change how a coaching staff looks at a player forever. One stretch where he dives for loose balls, pressures the ball handler, knocks down open shots, and brings visible energy that changes the game, that is all it takes to start opening doors. That is how quickly things can flip in this league. One performance, one stretch, one moment where a player finally says with his game, "I belong here, and I am ready." The question everyone is waiting to answer is simple. When that chance finally arrives for Bronny James, will he take it? Will he silence the noise and flip the narrative in one night? Or will the questions around his roster spot keep getting louder with every game that passes? The NBA does not wait for anyone. It does not pause for big names or famous last names or emotional storylines. Once the ball is tipped, it's about one thing: who helps you win? That is the only question that matters. And right now, the whole basketball world is watching to see how Bronny James will eventually answer it. Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Bronny will eventually earn a real role with the Lakers? Do you think the situation changes when and if he gets a real opportunity in a meaningful game? This is one of the most talked about stories in the NBA right now, and it is not going away anytime soon. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed so you never miss a video. We'll catch you in the next one.